Hard to believe it's time to wrap up already week 2. 8 weeks of NFL previews here on bet.nola.com. We are finishing up. The first quarter of our previews are over. Hard to believe. Where you at, my friends? I'm Jim Derry, and this preview is the Washington Commanders, and it's here on bet.nola.com, powered by the Datitude podcast. What do we think about the Commanders? Well, the first thing we think of is they have a new quarterback. Carson Wentz is coming in to take over for Taylor Heinicke, who goes back to being a second-string quarterback. Is it going to make that much difference for this Commanders team? Well, maybe it's in the eyes of the beholder. Maybe it's in the eyes of what we've seen in the past. I mean, what he did at Philadelphia, what he did at Indianapolis. Is there any reason to think he's going to take this huge step forward? I'm not sure. This offensive line certainly isn't better than any of the ones that he's played with. They lost Brandon Scherff, and although they bring in Trey Turner and Andrew Norwell, I'm not certain that that's going to be enough. But we'll get to the predictions in a minute. Let's look at the numbers on this team and where they were last year compared to what they're going into this year. And if you look at their totals, last year I predicted them to go 8-9. They went 7-10. Both were under the 8.5. So if you took my advice and you took the under, then you were a winner. We'll try to do it again this year. Offensive and defensive ranks, both right in the 20s, right? 21 and 22 respectively. Nothing special there. Is it going to get any better? Why would it? You look at their over-under win total, 7.5, but you got to pay a premium if you're taking that over. So the odds makers are trying to beg you to take the over on the Commanders. You got to pay $125 to win 100 at 7.5. If you want to take the under 7.5, you're getting value, 105. And let's just forget about those other numbers because I don't think any of us are going to play any of those numbers. Let's talk about the Commanders' schedule. And there are spots in the schedule that are just brutal. And not the first part, obviously. Jacksonville at Detroit, that's not bad. But then you talk about a long stretch where they could have trouble. You talk about Philadelphia at Dallas. Tennessee, they get a break at Chicago on a Thursday night. Then they go right back to the tough stuff. Green Bay at Indy, Minnesota at Philly. I mean, you're talking a stretch of 8 games to me where they could easily go 1-7, 2-6. So even if they win those first 2 games and they're 3-7, is it going to matter? I don't know. You tell me. I mean, they do have a stretch where they get Houston, Atlanta, the Giants, bye week, Giants again. But then it finishes off tough again at San Fran, Cleveland, and the Dallas Cowboys. Look, when you're talking about over-unders here, I would like to think this team is going to be better than they were last year. But frankly, I don't. I don't think Carson Wentz makes that big of a difference. I love Chase Young. He is a phenomenal defensive player and is going to be in this league for a long time. But is their defense any better than it was last year? Why would it be? I don't see where this team got better. I just don't. I'm a huge fan of Terry McLaurin. But the problem is he is a great wide receiver, but they don't have enough to help him. He gets double-teamed too much because they know that there's no one else that they have to really worry about. I'm talking about opposing defense. They bring in Jahan Dotson in the second round. Is that going to make a big enough difference? I don't think so. I love Antonio Gibson. He's a good running back. But I'm not sure that this offensive line is going to be able to create enough holes. And we've seen that Antonio Gibson has not been able to stay. At times, he's had injuries with injury troubles. Let's just put it that way. So I guess you see where I'm going with this. If you take anything with this team, I think you got to take the under 7.5. I don't think they're going to win 7 games. I don't think Ron Rivera is going to make it through this season, to be honest. And I kid with Adam Chernoff, who's coming up in just a moment, to tell me what he thinks about my pick here. But if you had a chance to take plus 350 that Ron Rivera wouldn't make it through the season, would you take it? I'm not asking you if the moon was made out of cream cheese, would you eat it? I'm asking you a pretty simple question because I know I would. Plus 350? I don't think Rivera makes it through the season. I don't think the Commanders win more than 6 or 7 games. I'm taking the under if I take anything, and that would be the only way I touch this team. Let's see what our expert thinks, and we'll be back next week with the AFC West. It's going to be fun. Wrapping up the NFC East with our handicapping expert, Adam Chernoff, of Covers.com. Each day, he is telling me whether he agrees with me, whether he doesn't agree with me, or whether he's just kind of on the fence like a lot of us are day to day. We're all day to day. Adam, it's been a good couple weeks. We've only had one disagreement so far. We've had a couple neutrals. To be honest, I've been a neutral on a couple teams. This is really kind of one of them. I don't know that there's really value in Washington. Call them the Commanders, call them the football team, call them whatever you want. They're the Commanders now. Under 7.5 wins is what I have. Maybe a little bit value there. I just don't know what to expect from this team. They got a new quarterback in Carson Wentz, and they got an easy schedule. I just don't like this division, and I certainly don't like this team. This is one I won't play, but if I had to play it, I'd play the under.
Another one that I'll be neutral on. And I'm glad we got the strong agreement and disagreement earlier in the week on Tuesday, Wednesday, because much like the Eagles, it feels like the right number to me that was set on this team. Wentz at times last year was playing as a top 10 quarterback in some of the advanced stats, expected points added per play. He had some really good spurts, but my goodness, did he have some terrible decision-making stretches as well. And that's something we've seen throughout his career. It was a bit of a puzzling move to me that they went out and got him. I thought what Heineke was doing late in the year looked really promising. And so considering how much the locker room liked him, now you take a pretty big different direction with Wentz. We'll see how long it lasts. But to me, to go over within the division where I have strong opinions on two of the other teams, just not sure I can get there. And again, with the unders coming earlier in the week and some of the other previews within this team, I just think this number is right at the right point. So wish I had more of a stronger stance, but I think it's a good number. I think the division price is right where it should be, as well as the win total. So it's kind of a stay away team for me in many ways.
If I gave you plus 350 that Ron Rivera doesn't make the season, you take it or not?
Again, I think that's a decent price too. It would have to be a little bit higher for me to go and grab that one.
Sounds good. Guess what's coming next week? It's the AFC West, and that should be a lot of fun. Adam, we'll talk to you next week, and some interesting numbers there. Thanks for being with us all week.
Absolutely.